Ezekiel chapter 32. And it comes to pass in the 12th year, in the 12th month, on the first of the month, a word of Yahweh has been to me, saying, Son of man, lift up a lamentation for Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And you have said to him, You have been like a young lion of nations, and you are as a dragon in the seas. And you come forth with your flowings, and trouble the waters with your feet, and you foul their flowings. Thus said Lord YHWH, and I have spread out my net for you with an assembly of many peoples, and they have brought you up in my net. And I have left you in the land. I cast you out on the face of the field, and have caused every bird of the heavens to dwell on you, and have satisfied every beast of the earth with you. And I have put your flesh on the mountains, and filled the valleys with your heap, and watered the land with your flowing from your blood to the mountains, and streams are filled with you. And in quenching you, I have covered the heavens, and have made their stars black, cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon does not cause its light to shine. I make all luminaries of light in the heavens black over you, and I have given darkness over your land. A declaration of Lord YHWH. And I have distressed the heart of many peoples, and my bringing in your destruction among nations, to lands that you have not known. And I have made many peoples astonished at you, and their kings are afraid because of you with trembling, in my brandishing my sword before their faces. And they have trembled every moment, each for his life, in the day of your fall. For thus said Lord YHWH, a sword of the king of Babylon enters you. I cause your multitude to fall by swords of the mighty, the terrible of nations, all of them. And they have spoiled the excellence of Egypt, and all her multitude has been destroyed. And I have destroyed all her beasts from beside many waters, and a foot of man does not trouble them any more. Indeed, the hooves of beasts do not trouble them. Then I caused their waters to sink, and I caused their rivers to go as oil. A declaration of Lord YHWH. In my making the land of Egypt a desolation, and the land has been desolate of its fullness, in my striking all the inhabitants in it, then they have known that I am YHWH. It is a lamentation, and they have lamented her. Daughters of the nations, lament her, for Egypt and for her multitude, they lament her. A declaration of Lord YHWH. And it comes to pass in the 12th year, on the 15th of the month, a word of YHWH has been to me, saying, Son of man, wait for the multitude of Egypt, and cause it to go down, it and the daughters of majestic nations, to the lower parts of the earth, with those going down to the pit. Whom have you surpassed in beauty? Go down, and be laid with the uncircumcised. They fall in the midst of the pierced of the sword. She has been given to the sword. They drew her out, and all her multitude. The gods of the mighty speak to him out of the midst of Sheol. With his helpers they have gone down. They have lain with the uncircumcised, the pierced of the sword. There is Asshur and all her assembly. His graves are around him. All of them are wounded, who are falling by sword, whose graves are appointed in the sides of the pit, and her assembly is around her grave, all of them wounded, falling by sword, because they gave terror in the land of the living. There is Elam and all her multitude around her grave, all of them wounded, who are falling by sword, who have gone down uncircumcised to the lower parts of the earth, because they gave their terror in the land of the living, and they bear their shame with those going down to the pit. They have appointed a bed for her in the midst of the wounded, with all her multitude. Her graves are around them, all of them uncircumcised, pierced of the sword. For their terror was given in the land of the living, and they bear their shame with those going down to the pit. He has been set in the midst of the pierced. There is Meshech, Tubal, and all her multitude. Her graves are around them, all of them uncircumcised, pierced by the sword. For they gave their terror in the land of the living. And they do not lie with the mighty, who are falling of the uncircumcised, who have gone down to Sheol with their weapons of war. And they put their swords under their heads, and their iniquities are on their bones. For the terror of the mighty is in the land of the living. And you are broken in the midst of the uncircumcised, and lie with the pierced of the sword. There is Edom, her kings, and all her princes, who have been given up in their might with the pierced of the sword. They lie with the uncircumcised and with those going down to the pit. There are the princes of the north, all of them, and every Zidonian, who have gone down with the pierced and their terror. They are ashamed of their might, and they lie uncircumcised with the pierced of the sword, and they bear their shame with those going down to the pit. Then Pharaoh sees, and he has been comforted for all his multitude, the pierced of the sword, Pharaoh and all his force. A declaration of Lord YHWH. For I have given his terror in the land of the living, and he has been laid down in the midst of the uncircumcised, with the pierced of the sword, Pharaoh and all his multitude. A declaration of Lord YHWH.